But there are those who also suggest that, well, they wonder, can the president actually then say, okay, even if you've been rejected once, I may represent you to the Senate, or decide to keep acting? Would there be anything wrong if he says, okay, go ahead and keep acting?
Well, if to keep acting is to be ad infinitum, then there is a problem.
Why?
Because you cannot act forever. It must be pending something, acting pending confirmation.
So if the Senate doesn't confirm him, he can act for as long as possible?
No, that's what I'm not saying. What I'm saying is that the acting that he will continue to be now will be subject to resubmission of his name to the Senate. If the DSS gets his house in order, because you have seen that there were two conflicting documents on the same subject matter. If they now harmonize the two reports, and probably, I'm just speculating, it now says, based on this, Ibrahim Magu is fit to hold any office, including chairmanship of EFCC. If there is such future letter, the president can resubmit his name.
What fate does Magu face in this situation now that he's been unconfirmed, been unconfirmed by the Senate, and the narrative seems to suggest that there are elements in the Senate that are really bent on stopping Magu from coming into office for the simple reason that his fight against corruption might rub off on the Senate. How do you respond to that?
I agree with your opinion on that. There was a strategic mistake. Strategic mistake in the sense that Magu was allowed to perform his job in acting capacity for such a long time before his name was sent to the Senate. Within that period, he has marched on a lot of toes, including those in the Senate. About 1/3 of them have their case files waiting for prosecution.
1/3?
About 1/3 of them. And you now send such a person's name at this point in time for the suspects to confirm him. It's an impossibility.
Let's get Markwe's question in on this. Markwe?
Well, I was going to go back to the Senate, the Comptroller General's non-appearance before the Senate. You have talked about how, they shouldn't this matter, the fact that whether or not it is in court, it was before the Senate, before it went to court. But then this substantive matter, which is that this retroactive policy is still there. It hasn't been discussed at all. How do you see the senators proceeding now? Because the matter has been suspended. They are asking that it be cancelled outrightly, but they have not been able to get the side of the Customs General. How is that going to play out eventually?
Well, I don't know whether you read the newspaper reports. If what I'm reading is right, Senator Enina Abaribe drew the attention of his colleagues that we are derailing if we finish the discussion only about appearing in uniform or not. That there is the issue of the policy that led to the invitation. Let us also deal with it. And the Senate now passed a resolution directing that that policy should never be implemented. I read it in Guardian online this morning. So the Senate, I think they rightly, in order not to lose focus, because if they have ended with invitation or appearance or no appearance, they would have said they lost focus on the issue. So they dealt with it. They now directed that policy should not be implemented. So I think they have done their duty even though they didn't hear the custom.
Don't you think that that's a faulty decision in the sense that normally the Senate would hear both sides of the matter before they finally reach a decision? In this instance, they have been prevented, or they have refused, whichever way you look at it, to listen to the other side because of something some people might consider minor, the CG not appearing, not that he did not appear, but did not appear in uniform.
But you forgot that the CG himself has suspended that policy prior to now. He said because of the outcries and concerns raised by Nigerians over the policy, that the policy is hereby suspended. So it's suspended, and the Senate announced, not only suspension, kill it. They should go to their drawing table and look at ways of getting money from those who didn't pay their import duties. You see, when I look at the way things operate, I keep wondering. For me, to get people to pay their duties is very easy. We don't need to start putting custom people on the road. If you buy a car and you go to a registration office, they have data now. It's computerized. You put the engine number, chassis number in the system. If the registration office forwards this to the custom, they will determine whether that car with that engine number passed through their normal process and whether duty was paid. If duty was paid, was the correct amount paid? If correct amount was not paid, they'll send you a debit note.
Who should be liable? The end user or the custom agent?
The person whose name appeared at the point of clearance.
That's the end user?
No. The importer.
Yeah.
The importer, it could be a car company, it could be, I could be also the importer and the end user. The person whose name appeared as the importer of that vehicle. It's a very simple thing. With computer, you can do all these things.
So that's a cumbersome process.
It's not cumbersome. It's something you can, on your computer, determine. Like now, for road safety, when they see your plate number, they will determine whether your vehicle license has expired or not. All they need to do is to puncture your details into the system, and then it will show. It's very simple.
That's a fine place to anchor then. We've been speaking with Mr. Emeka Ngige, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me.
All right, then we'll be back and focus on something else entirely in just a moment. Don't go away.